Can a beginner, me, successfully build an engine, or will all hell break loose? Maybe a bit of both. All right, so we had an epic day last weekend. I've been working on this Duster for 2 years, my first car project, and the goal of the day was to finally fire up the engine and do a cam break-in on it. So this is a flat tappet cam system. As you guys know, these are notorious for failing on break-in, so a lot of anxiety, super nervous going through this. Will the whole bottom end blow up? Will all hell break loose? Will it fail the cam? How is it gonna go? Special moment of muscle car zen at the end, so make sure you stick around for that. I've been working my way through it the last few months, trying to get this baby ready to fire up, and it was finally time to do so. I did call in some extra help for this one, so I got my buddy Marion from the local Mopar group, and I got my buddy Patrick from over at the channel Mostly Old Parts and Rust. I really couldn't have done this without the help of Patrick and Marion, so if you guys are watching, big thanks. All right, everything started off as planned. It was a bit of work to get all the final assembly done, torque converter on, trans mounted, etc., but everything was continuing as planned. We went to prime the oil system, and then we ran into our first big issue. So once I primed up just fine, actually we ended up shooting oil all the way from here clear across and hitting that wall over there. So one side went great, the other side we couldn't get oil. We had no choice but to pull the head apart. So here's what we found. All right, first major issue, and it was a big one. So we ended up having to pull the head back off because we got oil to one side but did not get oil to the other side. As we come over here,
oil passage hole
is not on that one.
Covered oil passage hole. And just in case you want to say, okay, you need to flip it, hey, guess what? It's not really flippable.
Yeah, so the reason that it's on in that orientation, you can see the pin right under there. Putting it on, it has a little this side to engine, but since it didn't fit, I looked at it and I just did not notice the difference in the oil passages. So yeah, that was blocking us. We were not getting oil. So we'll try to get it fixed, get it back together. We're gonna punch some holes in it where we need them. Using our Felpro gasket here as a template, so we're gonna punch a few holes. Should be good to go.
There you go.
There's a spot. Man, I tell you what, I'm glad to see that. Sweet!
Oh.
Okay, put this over top.
Alright.
See, you don't need to start working on it.
Oh, that was a job.
You feel like Armstrong was working on cars all day. That'll do it.
Pretty screwed up that it wasn't made right, but at the same time, if I had been more experienced, I probably would have noticed it during assembly, so it's on me for not noticing it. At the end of the day, to me, this just really reinforces the need to prime the oil system, because if we had fired up without priming it, this would have been thousands of dollars worth of damage. So as much as it sucks, we got the issue resolved, we moved forward. So we kept going, and we eventually got to the first fire up.
Yep.
All right, what do we need to do? Nothing?
We're gonna just do a quick little fire here and set timing quick, and then make a decision on what we're gonna do next.
All right, I'm just gonna try to watch you. I was just noticing we're smoking. Is that normal?
It should be.
Okay. Well,
Unless there's a bunch of like oil flying out of it or something.
No,
I heard the broom.
I'm just a sissy, I guess. All right, so fire up was loud. It was friggin' awesome. Most importantly, nothing blew up. I was super nervous as hell, running around like a little chicken, freaking out at everything. So it was running, but it wasn't running well. We couldn't get the timing right. It was misfiring pretty bad. After a bit of digging, we found that we'd accidentally swapped 2 of the plug wires. So we even checked it twice, but yeah, just a simple connection miss. In the heat of battle, you know, little details get missed sometimes. So hey, mistakes happen. It is what it is. We found it quickly, we moved on. After this, Patrick was very easily able to set the timing, and it sounded great. All right, making progress. So about to start the break-in issue that we had. We were weeping water out here, not in the front of the engine, surprisingly. So, and it wasn't getting into the cylinder heads. We weren't seeing any smoke. So I think we're gonna keep going, and hopefully with a little bit of heat, everything's gonna break in, and hopefully that leak will stop. Hopefully we won't have any other issues. We decided to hope for the best and continued on with the cam break-in. The approach we took was to limit the temperature to under 550 degrees. This was to avoid cooking the ceramic off of the headers and also to reduce the chance of failing the cam. So we did our cam break-in in a string of roughly 5-minute runs. The overheating got better as we had more runtime, and we were able to run longer before we got to that 550. All right, so there's 2 things that we were looking for to indicate that we were having a cam failure, since that was the main risk, was that we were gonna fail the cam. So number 1 is we're just listening to it running. Did it sound healthy? You know, how were we going throughout each run? And thankfully it sounded great. We had no issues throughout any of the runs once we got all the timing set up. So we were good there. The second thing was, after the run, I needed to drain out the oil pan and look for any sort of metal fragments in there that would indicate that we wiped something out. Nothing in there. Kind of hard to see, but I don't see any chunks in there. Looking for any sort of metal shavings. I'm not seeing anything. It looks good. No metal. Unfortunately, the head leaking did not get any better, so I knew I was gonna have to pull the heads off anyways. So here's what I found. It wasn't pretty. A little milky in there. That leak and water and oil mixing, maybe? Kind of creamy. Pan didn't have that. Pan looked great. I'm guessing its water was coming into the head. Oh yeah. Well, I can see even some corrosion. Whoa. All right, what do we see in here? Oh man, yeah, you can see the water just all separate there. Son of a. But our cam looks okay. That's kind of the one thing that we were originally most worried about. Oh, let's see what we got. Oh. Cylinders are just full of water. Maybe that was water that came down from the head, but chances are not. Chances are it's been leaking. Ugh, mother head gaskets. Let's see if we don't dump water again. Oh yeah. Lots of water. Oh. It's a sad sight seeing it stripped down again. Pretty sad sight seeing it stripped down again. Oh, but much better than if something blew up. So there is that. I put some oil in it just because, you know, water in there is no bueno, especially, you know, for the rings that I think are just, you know, standard steel. I do not want that rusting, so I just want to get a little fresh coat of oil on it just so it'll sit in that and hopefully negate any negative effects from the water. So on a positive note, we got to work through a head gasket issue, right? You know, a lot of people are afraid of that. We can check that off the list. I want to put this together one more time and leave nothing to chance. I think I'm going to take these in and see about getting a fresh edge, just enough to make sure that it is perfectly flat. When I did these, I block sanded them by hand. I know people have done that and not had issues. Maybe it's just a matter of the gaskets I used. Here's another cool thing. From the wear pattern in the break-in, see there, you can see the lines of where we were rubbing. It's not bad. It's really not bad. It's not perfectly centered. Honestly, I don't even think it's worth messing with. They look pretty good. I think they're gonna be fine. A real quick thanks to our sponsor. Thanks, honey. Nothing. All right, so after doing some digging, we found that the real leakage issue was these copper gaskets that I used. So these are intended to be used with special O-rings milled into the heads and a special copper sealant. I didn't know this because I'm new. The product description didn't list it. You know, it doesn't list it on the packaging. In most cases, this is why it sucks to be a new car guy, is the instructions that come with most stuff really suck. So, you know, sometimes you gotta learn things the hard way. I had chosen these gaskets because of the low thickness to help me out with my low compression issue. Turns out this was a really bad choice because these gaskets just aren't compatible unless you do the extra work to run these. So, you know, live and learn. It is what it is. We didn't do any major damage. It just sucks because I had to rip everything back apart again, clean it out, you know, got a lot of water in the system that I had to flush out, but it's fixable. All right, so live and learn. I won't make that mistake again, and hopefully this helps somebody out to not do the same. So a lot of good news. It was a hell of a day. A lot of good news. Bottom end held up fine. Cam broke in great, no issues there. We were able to set the timing, sounded great. Bad news is I had to rip it apart again. We'll just keep moving forward. All right, so what about that bonus Zen I promised you guys? Nothing says muscle car like a good lopey idle, right? So I was really worried because this is just a street cam, it's a Comp Cam's XE series, really not a race cam. I was worried that it wouldn't sound muscly enough. So to give you guys a few numbers, this is an XE268 H10, and we got a lift of 477 intake, 480 exhaust, duration at 50, 224 intake, 230 exhaust, lobe separation, that one's important for the sound, 110. I was very pleasantly surprised at how good this thing sounds at idle. So here it is.
Hello. Fail.
Best 2 out of 3.
Oh yeah, we gotta get that lobe. See what the lobe is. Hey guys, I really couldn't have done this right and gotten this thing tuned in right without the help of Patrick. After this video, please go check out Mostly Old Parts and Rust channel and subscribe. He needs 500 subscribers so that he's eligible to race in the No Name Nationals Creator event. Let's help him get there.